All right. Hey there, everyone. This is Nick Walters, bringing you another episode of the Unneutral Zone podcast, joined by my three co-hosts. I'll let them introduce themselves in a bit. Just want to plug a few things again to give you any updates on how you can find us, that sort of thing. Again, you can find us on our blog, theUnneutralZone.wordpress.com. You can also find us on Twitter at UnneutralZone. We'll periodically post any new articles that we publish, anything like that. Of course, any live streams, any podcasts will also get posted there as well, so you can always keep up to date with what we're doing through those avenues. So, brought to my attention that last time I didn't really introduce myself on the first official podcast. So, again, I'm Nick. I guess I'll kind of take the lead on these podcasts and kind of do the lead host duties. I'm from Wisconsin, so naturally a huge Packers fan. Really enough said about me. Let's get to the rest of the cast with me today. First, I'll start off with Eric.
Yeah, I'm Eric. I was on the last podcast, but I'll just give another little brief intro. I go to Sacramento State, and I'm a big Niners fan, big Warriors fan, and yeah, and I'll give it off to Justin.
Hey, I'm Justin. I was also on the last podcast. I'm a Colts fan, living in New York, living the life. And I'll pass it on to our new co-host for this episode, Matt.
All right, I'm Matt. I'm the commissioner of this league. I was born and raised in Alabama. I go to Auburn University. Been playing fantasy football for about the past 10 years. I'm excited to finally be on.
So, so he says commissioner of this league. Again, that's our 10-team dynasty league that just started this season. Pretty interesting going on in that league right now, and just a lot to talk about, but we'll try to save that for other podcasts. Anything you guys want to kind of point us to before I kind of dive right into what we're going to talk about today?
No, let's dive right in, yeah.
All right, so first up, a little bit of news stories, starting with a little bit of an injury roundup. Maybe the biggest name on obviously one of the biggest names on the injury list this week. Rob Gronkowski goes down with I believe a knee contusion, or he's got basically some bruising going on in his knee.
They called it a knee bruise.
Yeah.
So let's go with that.
Initially thought to be a lot worse than really what it looked to be, and what it turned out to be. A lot of people thinking, obviously the worst, because it was in that same knee that was surgically repaired before. But some good news came this week to find out he'll only miss a couple of weeks, it sounds like.
Yeah, he called himself week to week in a press conference.
Actually, a press release that's really kind of unheard of to be released by a player.
Very rare for the Patriots to do that as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Belichick loves to keep everything low key, and I'm surprised they put out an entire press release just for one player.
So I don't think it was released through the Patriots. I think it was released through Gronkowski's people, which is kind of strange.
It's always good to see Gronk out there, though. I'm excited.
So bringing up a really good point. What are the fantasy implications?
Ugh.
Find a tight end for a few weeks and then put him back in there for your playoff run.
Pretty much. Scott Chandler. Grab Scott Chandler while you can.
Scott Chandler was putting up decent stats before the injury. So
yeah. So you can only imagine that they're going to increase.
Right there.
Mm-hmm.
In a redraft no, you can
go ahead, Justin.
All right. So in a redraft league, I missed out on Scott Chandler because one of our co-hosts took him. But I'm looking towards Vance McDonald or Crockett Gilmore if you can't get Scott Chandler in your league.
I like Crockett Gilmore out of those two.
And I like Vance McDonald as a Niner fan, but I think his consistency will keep going actually throughout these next few games, just because I believe our secondary tight end got hurt, so he's pretty much the only one that's even available, and he's been getting all the end zone targets as it is. So definitely Vance McDonald. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think Vance McDonald's putting up pretty good numbers the last couple games. He's got 2 touchdowns over the last 2 games, both against Seattle and Arizona. So he's looking pretty good.
And I was at that Arizona game actually, and he looked pretty good. He was running good routes, has good hands. He's definitely improved a lot over the last couple years that we've had him, and they're finally giving him a bigger role. So
Yeah, the biggest issue with Gilmore's got to be pick six Shaw back there.
yes,
Versus value.
definitely. I played Crockett this week. He put up I think like 7 points in PPR. So you hope that he can bounce back and maybe put up a little bit more because he was putting up some more points the weeks before. But I think that'd be a good pickup if you're hurting on tight ends.
All right, so Gronk out of the way. Let's move on to another kind of important injury in the fantasy world, that of Allen Hurns. Went down with a concussion this past weekend. Released from the hospital recently, so good news all around there. But I think he's currently listed as day-to-day. Doesn't look too optimistic that he'll play on Sunday. What are you guys' thoughts on Allen Hurns?
Love Allen Hurns.
I like him, but I don't know this week. Concussions are pretty rough, so you should monitor on Saturday what they say about him.
I think his name value's always been underrated, so if you can buy him with the injury news, I would definitely go for it.
I agree with that. Because he was actually somebody that I liked last year, even though he wasn't getting as many looks. But you could see the potential and the chemistry between him and Bortles even last year, I think. So if you can buy low on him or just can afford to keep him on your bench for a few weeks, I think he's a good person to have around.
Yeah, over week 3 to week 10, he had a stretch of 7 games with a touchdown. So he gets in the end zone and he gets you some points.
Do you guys think Marquise Lee will step up this week without Allen Hurns?
No.
No, not really. I think it's going to be the Julius Thomas show.
Ooh.
I'd rather have Rashad Green than Marquise Lee.
What about Brian Walters, my dad?
I'd probably rather have him. Marquise Lee's never healthy.
Brian Walters was like a PPR sleeper a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and then he kind of tailed off, so I don't know if I'd put any trust in picking him up and expecting points, but if you're in a very deep league, maybe give him a look.
I'd fully expect it to just be Allen Robinson and Julius Thomas just pretty much this entire game.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, Allen Robinson, big game.
Yeah.
Do you think Yeldon sees any sort of uptick in the passing game as a result?
Maybe a few.
Yeah, maybe a little. I could see that.
A good chunk of his PPR points do come on receptions, which is certainly something to look for.
Yeah, because he's a very good passing back as far as somebody who plays all 3 downs for the most part.
Can block well, can catch
well.
So.
Yeah, he's a 3-down back, so I think he'll get a little
3
bit
down
of a kick.
except for anything 20 yards from the end zone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Then it's White Rhino time.
Yeah. White Rhino or a shoelace. Yep.
And you guys don't know. It's going to be this week. Toby Gerhardt's just going to pound through. Averaging less than a yard per carry. He's going to get it this week, though. We believe in him.
Is that what he's averaging?
No, I just made that up. It's probably not quite that bad.
I wouldn't even be surprised if that was it, though.
Just want to things again to.
He's averaging just over 2 yards per carry.
Yeah, close enough. It's about as bad.
Trent Richardson numbers.
Yeah. But yeah,
right, let's get to
Yeldon.
Let's quickly move on to 2 other injury concerns. One really major one that kind of hurts some fans. Jimmy Graham out for the season with a torn patellar tendon. That doesn't look good. Same injury that Victor Cruz had a year ago. Obviously not a good sign. What do you guys think that means for Seattle?
I expect their receivers to get a boost with no Graham. You saw what Doug Baldwin and Kearse did last week, but I still wouldn't trust them in Seattle's offense.
Exactly. And I think that game, or basically the points that came out of the receivers was really just a result of the game they were in. I don't expect that out of Seattle ever.
No, I wouldn't expect that to continue either.
They're real streaky with like who gets the ball each week, sort of like the Saints are.
Yeah.
It definitely sucks if you haven't sold Jimmy Graham yet, though, because I've been advocating to sell him all season. If you have him now, you pretty much got to hold him in Dynasty.
Yeah,
he really has no value right now, especially in that offense.
And he was actually starting to get a little bit more of an uptick in yards and volume the past few weeks, so it sort of sucks.
Right.
Yeah, that was definitely one of his better games of the season so far. And then it ended pretty much as soon as it began.
Tough injury to come back from.
I tried to buy on Jimmy Graham this week, buy very low, but our league mate Steve, I feel like I insulted him because he didn't respond to my message.
Probably because you offered him half of your team, and half of those players were garbage.
I offered him 2 third-round picks and Clive Walford, and he did not jump on it.
Just because
I might take that for Jimmy Graham.
He's good, Justin.
I might take 2/3 in Clive Walford for Jimmy Graham at this point.
Nick, you didn't take my Tyrod for Jeremy Maclin trade.
No.
Ty God.
I just couldn't. I can't buy Tyrod yet.
T-Mobile.
I think that was better for you because Jeremy Maclin went off and Tyrod had a very mediocre week.
God. You should have did that trade, Nick. I would have still been in the playoff hunt.
That Phillip Rivers trade would have been good, too.
All right, so moving on, one last injury note. Ben Roethlisberger kind of gave himself up to the concussion police this week, reported the symptoms on his own, went through the protocol, apparently cleared it today. Still something we should probably watch Saturday. I think there was a game earlier in his career where he woke up with headache symptoms on the Sunday of the game, and actually wasn't cleared to go against the Ravens. So something you might want to watch if you're trying to start Ben Roethlisberger this week.
Did you guys see the news yesterday where he confirmed he didn't have a concussion, and less than an hour later Tomlin said he did?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. There seems to be some confusion as to whether or not Roethlisberger's actually concussed.
Oh, so maybe he didn't actually report symptoms. Maybe,
well, he said on his weekly radio show this morning that he had been cleared for practice. So that's not necessarily out of concussion protocol, but I think that's how everyone took it.
He took the concussion test this morning.
Yeah,
I know.
And they cleared him for practice.
Yeah.
But not for games. So technically he's still in concussion protocol, so it's definitely something that needs to be watched if you have Roethlisberger.
Sure.
And he's very serious about his brain. He said the only injury he won't play through is a brain injury.
Good for him.
Even though he crashed his motorcycle without wearing a helmet.
Yeah, he's known for good choices.
We won't get into the rest of his personal life, but yeah, good choices all around. All right, so that does it.
Wait, Nick, I have another question, another trade question.
Sure.
So you traded Flacco for Roethlisberger, right?
Right.
Was that just a 1-for-1 trade?
There was a pick in there, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think it was straight up. No.
What? There's got to be a pick.
No, I think there was a pick involved.
No.
I was trying to squeeze you.
Yeah, I think it was like a third rounder.
Yeah,
Okay. I was like, wow. I was really shocked by that trade when somebody did
Justin
Roethlisberger
offered
straight
me
up.
the same thing, but for Rivers in place of Roethlisberger.
All I know is Rivers doesn't have a concussion.
I love Rivers, man. I think that would have been a good trade. I think that would have been a good a third pick for Rivers and Flacco would have been a good trade too. But Roethlisberger's
a year younger though, and we haven't seen Rivers really play through a really bad injury like Roethlisberger has. And so if I'm going to go forward with an Iron Man, I think Roethlisberger's maybe the better pick for me.
But that's because he doesn't get injured as much.
That's right.
Very true.
He's like Captain America.
Roethlisberger gets injured every other week.
True.
It seems like, at least. All right, sorry, that was an interruption.
All right, so let's touch quickly on what I term kind of some up-and-comer waiver ads as well as players we want to watch in the near future. So this is Dynasty as well as Redraft, really any kind of league that you're in, players you might want to target.
Should we touch on Chris Johnson really quick?
Sure. Yeah, before we get into this, let's talk about Chris Johnson.
His leg's broken.
Yeah, that's bad.
So broken tibia.
Tibia, yeah.
Yep. So he's on IR, designated to return. Probably not useful in the near fantasy future.
Ellington has
David Johnson is.
David Johnson hype.
David Johnson hype is full steam right now.
Which I've been on the David Johnson train for a long time now.
A very long time.
You drafted David Johnson in our Dynasty League.
Yeah, Nick wasn't too happy about that.
No, I drafted Ellington before Johnson, then I thought trying to snipe my handcuff. Which turns out wasn't a handcuff at all, so.
Man,
hate
I
Andre
would.
Ellington.
Me too. He's probably one of my least favorite players in fantasy football. He completely destroyed my chances at the championship last year in one of my leagues. And just watching him play is just like, it's disgusting. He's so bad. Just like the way he hits a hole or doesn't hit a hole for the most part is just, it's terrible. He just runs right into people. Solid passing back, but other than that, just useless.
You ended up trading him, didn't you, Nick?
Oh,
yeah, I got TJ Yeldon out of it, so
Yeah.
I'm happy.
I saw Trent Richardson and TJ Yeldon, but he's looking actually pretty good. But we'll see.
And I like what I've seen from David Johnson for the most part.
Yeah.
He has some fumbling issues, it seems like, maybe, but that's something that can be worked past, probably.
I've seen many dudes his size who can return kickoffs for touchdowns.
Yeah, true. And he's somebody who does hit the hole really good as opposed to Andre Ellington. And I think it was just go ahead.
Oh, sorry. He's explosive is what I was saying, the way he hits the hole and he trucks over guys.
Yeah, and he has good hands too. So
yeah.
What I think my favorite game to watch of him in college was he had something like 300 to 400 yards receiving.
Wow, really?
As a running back, yeah. And try and find the game. I'll come back to you guys on that one. But
wow, that's amazing.
So the lead-in from Chris Johnson injured to David Johnson, a good ad if you can get him really in any league moving forward.
That was way exaggerated. He had 200 yards receiving against Iowa the senior year.
Still pretty good, though. Can't complain about that.
All right, so David Johnson out of the way. Let's move on to talk about Dontrell Inman. So kind of moving into some fantasy points, fantasy relevance, as a result of a couple injuries. You guys want to talk about what's going on in San Diego?
It's brutal there. It feels like guys are dropping like flies over there, and Dontrell Inman has really stepped it up. So, and he's young, right? I think he's
26.
Yeah.
Almost 27. So
he was somebody I actually drafted in our dynasty league this year. Not really sure if he was going to do anything, but I thought he had some potential, especially since after Keenan Allen, the wide receiver corps in San Diego are kind of kind of meh. So I was taking a flyer on him, and thankfully it's paying off now in the long run.
A decent flex play in deeper leagues, PPR.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he has great value going forward because Malcolm Floyd, I think he said it's his last year this year, and Rivers seems to like Inman, and he has really good hands. So he's definitely a guy I would want.
Yeah, maybe another option in San Diego, a little bit more recognizable. So Inman's probably a little bit easier to get just because people don't recognize who he is. Stevie Johnson, another option who you might still be able to pick up on waivers or get for maybe a little bit cheaper than you might other players, but kind of two options you should look for in the San Diego wide receiving corps.
Don't sleep on Javante Herndon.
Who the hell is that?
Who is Javante Herndon?
Well, he is rostered I have him rostered. He's owned in 0% of ESPN leagues.
You would have him rostered. Who is that?
For those of you who don't know, which is probably everyone, Justin is like the king of these obscure waiver pickups. It's like he prides himself on coming up with players that no one's ever heard of. And somehow they just, you hear their name on ESPN later in the week. I don't know how he does it.
I'm convinced you're just really lucky and you actually have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
You're just like, all right, I'll take the top guy, and then it just happens to work out for 4 weeks straight.
Thomas Rawls in the preseason?
Yes.
Who is Javante?
Why?
Okay, so Javante Herndon. He was on IR to start this season, but now he's returning punts. And he didn't receive a target, but he was on the field for 3 plays in San Diego's last game at Jacksonville.
San Diego is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out. Javante Herndon.
5 receptions in last week's game and lost a fumble.
Okay.
So
I'll let you have that one, Justin. Who would you guys? Oh, one sec. Who would you guys play over? Would you guys play Inman or Stevie Johnson if you had to?
Stevie Johnson.
Stevie Johnson.
Yeah,
Stevie
Stevie,
Johnson.
especially in PPR.
Okay.
I wouldn't feel terrible about playing Inman, but in place of Stevie Johnson, I think I'm going to go Stevie Johnson. Yeah.
Stevie Johnson do pretty good last week.
I think he had like 15 points PPR.
Oh, okay.
Resurgence.
I suppose he's technically their number one, so that works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just curious. Oh, he had
Alright,
20.
so-
He had 22 points
Oh, all right.
Nice.
More than I thought.
in our league, at least.
So David Johnson down. We've got Dontrell Inman down. Let's talk about Buck Allen. So
Buck Allen.
Buck Allen recently acquired a starting position for the who cares Baltimore Ravens. Justin Forsett goes down with a broken arm, and he walks into a pretty good running back situation. Ends up putting up some decent points this past week. What are you guys' thoughts on Buck Allen?
I think he's going to keep that job, and he's a bigger back, so you got to worry about his yards per carry and stuff. But Justin Forsett's like old as dirt, and he wasn't very good. He just got a lot of carries, I feel like. But I know Matthew has some interesting posts on Reddit about Buck Allen, so you want to share that? And your
Yeah,
hated
really?
Justin Forsett?
I don't remember that in particular, but
There's a lot of Justin Forsett hate on your end, so was that because you really like Buck Allen or because you just hate Justin Forsett?
well, I wasn't his biggest fan. He was old, and the only thing that scares me about Buck Allen is that Terrence West looked just as good in that game on Monday, and Terrence West isn't that good.
Yeah, I completely forgot about Terrence West, honestly. I thought
So
he was
you're-
still...
Crazy here now.
You have to remember who they were playing too. They were playing
Right, the Browns.
like worst run offense in the league, or one of the like worst three in the Browns. So
But like you said, Buck Allen, he's a big guy. He's explosive for his size. He runs like a 4.5 40. And he's got some receiving ability, so I like his upside. And hopefully they don't draft anyone or bring anyone in to Baltimore in the next year.
they do have a lot of other positions they need to fill.
Yeah, like
Like
defensive
everything.
back.
everything.
Quarterback.
Yeah,
Quarterback.
they can maybe even get a backup for that, possibly.
If you're in your league and you're like searching, because this happened to me in one of my redrafts, I'm looking for Buck Allen. I can't find him anywhere. I'm like, where is he? His name is Javorius Allen. So I'm just saying, if you're looking for him, look for Javorius.
I'd say you're extremely lucky if you can find Buck Allen at this point.
Yeah, I picked him up in Nick's league and he helped me win. So suck it, Nick.
Yeah, well, I still have the number one seed, so suck it, Justin.
Woo!
All right, so sucking aside, let's talk about Sean Drone.
My man.
Let's talk about him then, Eric.
I love me some Sean Drawn.
Just
I love-
go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, I was just gonna say I love his name. First of all, it just sounds cool, Sean Drawn. Like it's just awesome.
Like
Sounds-
John Butter, just like yeah,
Like Sean, it just sounds like Sean John, like
smooth
the
like butter.
yeah, like butter. And I just think it's amazing what he's done in the past 3 weeks on such a shit team. With the fact that he's off the street pretty much, he hadn't been on a team until the Niners signed him, and then he's been putting up a solid like 13 to 15 points in PPR every week, getting a pretty good balance of running yards and receiving yards, pretty much half and half every game so far. So if he,
Go ahead.
and he's the only back that's really playing in San Francisco.
That's the important part.
Yeah, he's the only one getting touches. So if you want a consistent, like I'd say double-digit score every week, I think he'd be a good pickup because if he's the only one running, he's definitely going to get at least 10 points, I feel like.
Do we know when Carlos Hyde's coming back? I saw he was questionable this week.
He's working through a stress fracture, and the problem with it is it's always going to be painful. And if he can tolerate the pain, he can play through it. But there are really just a lot of issues with that whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
I could honestly see if Sean John keeps getting the job done, they just shut Hyde down for the season.
That's what I was going to say too. I think as long as the Niners, the season's a wash. They're not trying to win. I mean, they want to win, but they're not going to win, and they're going to be going for draft picks. So I feel like they're gonna shut Hyde down at some point in the next week or so, because there's just no point in having him back and risking him messing up that foot more for next season. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'd say go pick up Sean Drawn if you can. He could be like a tier 2 running back, tier 3 running back for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, so last week he ran with all 56 of the offensive snaps for the team, so he is the running back getting the work there. In terms of where his points come from, he really doesn't top out over 50 yards rushing too often, at least in his past 3 games. But in each of those 3 games, he's had at least 4 receptions and at least 35 yards receiving. So he's at least pulling in some points in a PPR format.
Yeah.
In a dynasty league, if you were contending, what pick would you give up for Sean Drawn right now?
So he is 27. He'll be 28 on the 7th of this month. So he's pretty close to that running back cliff.
Nothing more than a third, probably not even that, honestly.
Yeah, because he's only gonna
so much more talented.
He's gonna have value for about 3 more weeks. I mean, until the season's over, not 3 more weeks. Until the season's over, fantasy-wise, and then Carlos Hyde's gonna be back next season, and at best, Drawn will be their backup.
So I guess my question is, in a dynasty format, you have the choice between Charkandrick West and Sean Drawn. I think we're all agreeing that Charkandrick West is probably the better bet.
Right.
Yeah.
But
This week or the rest of the season?
The rest of the season.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that.
But if you're going to trade for one of them, you're probably going to give up a lot less going for Drawn. The question is, who would you go for, knowing that you're going to give up less to get Drawn?
Depends what I need. If I just need a filler, I'll take Drawn. But West is going for about a second right now, I'd say.
Yeah.
I would say Drawn because of the performance of Spencer Ware over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'd say that's going to probably play into how many carries West gets. Because I could see Ware getting the first round running spot in that offense. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like they're probably gonna split carries, but I feel like Ware is good enough where he should be taking precedent over West in that offense.
I think they go full-blown committee because they're like 2 different type of backs, West and Ware.
I don't think so. I think they're going to run West, and unless he gets hurt or looks really bad, they're going to keep him in.
Well, I think they're gonna go 50-52, but I think they should go Ware. I haven't seen really anything out of West that made me like amazed or blew me away or anything.
You see anything in Ware that blows you away?
He hits the hole hard.
Yeah, he looks solid.
Their O-line's really good.
He runs it slowly.
Yeah, I was going to say the one thing that team's proven is that they can run basically anyone.
Yeah, their offensive line is really good right now.
I think if I had to choose, I'd probably go Drawn just because I don't have to give up for as much for him, and if he's only going to last me the next 3 weeks, and then I'm looking at him as a handcuff or whatever the next season, I'd rather give up less for maybe a little less fantasy production.
Yeah,
and there'll be less confusion too with how the carries are going to go.
Right.
Drawn's going to get all the touches, all the snaps,
Right.
whereas at least this week, maybe it'll be clear in the next couple weeks, but West and Ware are going to be a confusing. It's going to be like Langford and Forte, basically. It's like you don't really know how it's going to go.
Exactly. All right, so that
Should we talk about? Maybe we should talk about that a little. Langford and Forte. I think that's kind of an interesting situation.
Sure.
Well, Langford's in a rapid fire. If you guys want to talk about him, then.
Oh, okay. Then we can move on. Yeah, we could wait.
Okay. So wrapping up our news stories, then we're going to move on to a segment where we talk about 2 players that have really kind of crapped the bed at least this season for the first 3 quarters of it seems. Eddie Lacy and C.J. Anderson really providing us with a lot of fuel in our fantasy conversations about players that we hate, players that haven't done enough for our teams. My question to you guys is, can we trust Eddie Lacy or C.J. Anderson moving forward the rest of the season?
Oh.
Rest of this
No.
season, I'd say yes.
So Eric gives a timid no, and Matthew gives a yes.
Rest of
Justin?
season.
I'm on the no side, especially with Anderson.
So give me your explanations.
I'll start with Anderson. John Fox, not John Fox, coach at Denver. Kubiak. Kubiak just said that Hillman's going to remain the starter. So I feel like they're just going to take the hot hand approach for the rest of the
It
games.
doesn't mean anything, though, because Anderson out-touched him by, like, at least 10 touches in the last game.
Yeah, but if Hillman's starting the game on the field, what if he breaks a big run and then they keep going with him? I'm just worried about the hot hand.
But
Yeah.
Hillman started the last game.
Yeah,
And
but
Anderson
And he
finished
broke a
with more
long
touches.
run in that game, too.
But-
I think it's a mess there, but against San Diego twice in the next, 5 weeks?
those are good matchups.
Yeah, good matchups there.
I'd say they're both reasonable flex plays. Either one of them. You could play either one of them, even if they're splitting carries, especially if they're playing San Diego, and you'll probably be good. I don't know. I think they're a decent flex play at least.
I agree,
Yeah.
flex,
Eddie
but I
Lacy
would,
looked revitalized on that Thursday, that Thanksgiving game, I guess I watched, or maybe the week before.
Oh, yeah, he looked good on
He
Thanksgiving.
looked different. I don't know if he lost some weight during the week or something, but like he looked like he was running like
fasting for the big meal after the
he
game.
was like I don't know. He was seeing the holes correctly, which he hadn't been all year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And other than that fumble, I thought he's been great since.
I think more than anything, though, he was running. He wasn't giving that stutter step. He wasn't trying to spin out of or wait too long for a hole. Yeah, he was just running.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how you become Trent Richardson.
Right.
And I'd say for Lacy, I am just very unsure about him in general as a fantasy player, just because he kind of had this same pattern last year where he was really bad for like one portion of the season, and then towards the later half he got really good again. And then somehow before the beginning of this season he was like some people's first round picks, which just blew me away. I just didn't understand it at all.
Yeah.
And even in our league, I think our very first pick was Eddie Lacy. Yeah.
Well, Packer fan picked him, so that makes a lot of sense. But-
True
Followed
enough.
by Marshawn Lynch.
And thank you to whoever took Eddie Lacy first, because that means
Yeah,
I got Le'Veon Bell. So thank you. So I would just say I'm not really sure. I feel like he's kind of a game-to-game case at this point. I mean, I know he did good this past week, but he's had good weeks in this season already before, and then it took a nosedive. So
He can certainly suffer at the hands of Aaron Rodgers, because there's no reason the Packers need to rush a touchdown in from 2 yards out. They can pass. They can do any number of things not involving Eddie Lacy.
I really wanted to say I hate the Packers offense. So
I
It's
agree.
like how it's built, it only works because you guys have Aaron Rodgers.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yes.
And like watching this year with like Devontae Adams and Cobb both struggling, it makes me really appreciate what Jordy's done there
Yeah.
the past few years. Like they just throw him on the outside and make him win every single play, and he does most of the time. So
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the receivers just aren't getting open. They're just not getting off their coverage very easily.
well, like other teams, they like Houston, they'll throw DeAndre Hopkins. They'll put him in the slot sometimes.
Yep.
Or something like that. Green Bay just leaves their number one, and they're just like win every single play on the outside. So,
Yeah, and my question is, like, why can Phillip Rivers throw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns with his lacking receiver corps, and Aaron Rodgers can't throw over 3 or barely throw over 300 with Cobb? You know, even just with Cobb, if you think you'd have somebody that's that good, you'd be able to get the ball out more regularly and more effectively.
It seems like the one thing I've noticed, and I watch their games somewhat closely, they seem to have gotten away from kind of the dink and dunk plays that used to be their bread and butter. So the quick slants, the things that would get them maybe 7 yards on a pass play, but would certainly put them into range of a first down almost, 1 out of every 2 plays.
Yeah, Rodgers is holding the ball too much, and that was a criticism of Luck early in the year. So I started noticing that in other games. So like Rodgers usually throws like those quick slants, but now he's been holding it. How's their offensive line? Any injuries on that?
I don't think
Yeah, they've been a little bit beat up. I think
has the Packers' offensive line ever been good?
it was last year.
It was last year. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's suddenly just kind of taken a crap ever since.
And I have a question, just because I haven't really watched many full. Actually, I don't think I've watched one full Packer game this entire year. But are they doing a lot of dump off passes to Lacy and Starks?
Definitely. Well, the last game they tried to work in, you probably saw a bit of the last game, but they had at least 2 or 3 kind of screen dump off plays to Starks. Occasionally they'll work one in with Lacy. Starks is kind of the guy that they throw in on those change of pace third down plays to give him a little bit more speed, and so he sees a bit more of those, I think.
Because I remember last year having Eddie Lacy on my team, I paid attention a little bit more to the Packers, and he seemed to get a lot of his, a fair amount of his touchdowns and a lot of his yardage off these little dump-off passes that Rodgers didn't get him.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you don't see anymore, and they need to work kind of those screens or those passes out to the flat in a little bit more.
Because that completely eliminates the problem that Eddie Lacy has been having this year, which is getting through the line. Because if he's doing the dump-off passes, he's already past the line. He just has to worry about being in open space, which he's usually very effective in, and he can hit guys hard.
Right.
So, I don't know. I just don't trust the Green Bay offense. I agree with Matt.
Yeah, especially, from a fantasy perspective, yeah, it's really hard to. Rodgers does really anything he feels like. It's not like he has a go-to guy anymore.
Mm-hmm. For once, I'm actually going to be benching Aaron Rodgers in fantasy. It's weird. It's a weird thing to say. For Phillip Rivers.
Who are you benching him in favor of?
Oh, actually, I was going to say Phillip Rivers, but Phillip Rivers is playing Denver this week, so I might reconsider that. Because Aaron Rodgers is playing Detroit, so scratch that. Not benching Aaron Rodgers.
All right, so that kind of wraps up our argument on Lacy and Anderson. If you guys had to take one going forward, it sounds like everyone's leaning toward Lacy.
Lacy.
Yep, Lacy.
Yeah, definitely.
I think if you can get C.J. Anderson for quite a bit cheaper, which I'm sure you could, you might even be able to pick him up on waivers in some leagues. He might be a valid option, but I think Lacy's the better bet here.
What about Lacy or David Johnson?
Lacy.
I think Lacy, yeah.
Still Lacy?
Ellington's going to be back in a week or two, and Arians hates his rookies, so...
It's true.
Yeah.
I think it completely depends on how Johnson does this week.
Right, if he blows it up, I'd be like, yeah, David Johnson.
Yeah.
But...
Makes sense.
Yep.
All right, so we did a little bit of a prelude into our rapid fire segment. Let's kind of hit it full on here. I'm going to go through and give you guys 2 players to compare. And what I want you to do is, quickly, I'll just have each of you give me the player you would take, given the option between the 2. And then if we differ, we'll talk about those differences.
In a draft or playing this week?
In a draft, I think.
In a draft.
Yeah.
So, Dynasty going forward from
So
right.
if we were doing a new Dynasty draft right now, who would we draft? Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
All right. Todd Gurley or Le'Veon Bell?
Todd Gurley.
Gurley.
Oh, I guess Gurley in Dynasty.
I'm going to go Bell.
That hurts me to say.
I said Gurley, but I'm kind of thinking Le'Veon Bell, and last week scared me with how they stacked the box against Gurley, where Le'Veon has Ben Roethlisberger to open up the field. So
my thought is that Gurley's quarterback hopefully won't always suck for his career.
yeah.
Yeah, if we're looking at Dynasty just long term, I agree. There's no way that the Rams continue to have this terrible of quarterback luck.
I don't know. The Browns are kind of a great example of that.
The Rams aren't the Browns.
Make it happen.
They're slightly better than the Browns.
The other great thing that the Steelers have going for them is they have great receivers as well.
Right.
The quarterback makes them look great, but they're great receivers.
I'm changing my mind. I'm going back to Bell.
Yeah, I changed my mind too.
I'll stick strong with Gurley. I think he's a little bit more talented. I love Bell's talent, and then he's, I think, 3 years younger. Gurley's still 21, so
Yeah. You can't go wrong, though, with either of those guys.
No. As a pure running back, I think I agree Gurley's better.
Yeah, I agree with that.
In the system that he's in, I think Bell is the better value. I think he pulls in receiving yards, especially if you're in a PPR league. He's going to give you, possibly 4 or 5 receptions a game.
Gurley definitely hasn't been catching the ball as much as I wanted him to this year. So.
Or rushing the ball, for that matter. They should be giving it to him so much more than they do.
Yeah, I think they're trying to ease him in.
I mean, if you've watched the Rams play, that offense is just
horrendous. Garbage. It's
garbage. You just hope Gurley's like helpless back there.
Tavon Austin is greatest of all time, so shut up.
He vultured Gurley's touchdown last week. It pissed me off.
What about Benji Cunningham? Everybody forgot about Cunningham.
Is he even there in St. Louis anymore?
Trey Mason.
Oh wait, that's right. No, I'm thinking of Trey Mason.
Trey Mason. I like Trey Mason's talent. I hope he ends up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Trey Mason's only, 23, 24?
Yeah. He's an Auburn guy. Hopefully he ends up somewhere like Houston or Dallas.
Fun fact about Trey Mason, his dad is one of the members of De La Soul.
Really?
Say what?
His dad is one of the members of De La Soul.
That's not a good thing.
Oh. Yeah.
De La Soul. If you're saying De La Soul is bad, that's offensive. De La Soul is amazing.
All right.
What's the next one?
Let's move on.
Yeah, we should be more rapid about this.
Yeah.
All right, I've got to say this one. DeAndre Hopkins or Des Bryant?
DeAndre.
DeAndre.
Nuke.
Yeah, no disagreement here. I'm going to take DeAndre Hopkins.
I don't think it's close.
I traded them both.
It's a top 3 startup pick compared to a top 10 startup pick at this point.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, Dez is really showing his weakness in that, without Tony Romo, he's not what he was.
Yeah.
And you can see with Hopkins that he's playing with quarterbacks that are mediocre.
He can play with whatever goes in there.
Very mediocre.
I think Hopkins will have a regression, but...
Sure, yeah, certainly, yeah.
Because he won't be setting records for targets, probably.
I think he'll still have these very solid seasons, and there's not going to be a whole lot of.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
I think he'll
definitely.
be good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those rare cases where I think having a better quarterback is actually going to hurt him.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Depends on if a wide receiver ends up there.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, even Humphreys or Humphreys? He's pretty good. I feel like he has some talent if they can get him off the ground. It's just their quarterback situation is so bad.
And they have Jalen Strong, who was like a third-round pick.
Yeah. Jalen Strong's pretty good too.
He looked so bad this year, Strong has.
All right, let's keep it rapid. Let's go Jeremy Langford, TJ Yeldon. Who you got?
Yeldon.
Really?
Yeah, Yeldon.
Well, yeah.
Not close for me.
Dynasty moving forward.
Dynasty, not even close.
Yeah, I'd say Yeldon.
Consider Langford, though.
I'd say Yeldon's my top 5 running backs. I wouldn't put Langford in my top 10 Dynasty.
I'm still worried Forte winds up re-signing. That's my only worry.
This will be more clear, I think, at the end of the season once the teams start making some moves.
Yeah.
If Forte moves teams, then Langford, I'd probably switch those two at that point, just because Langford is such a, not that Yeldon isn't, but Langford has shown his great pass catching abilities.
Right, and that's something they like to do in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, if they run the same system that they do with Forte and Cutler's there to, do all those dump off passes that he loves, then Langford's value, especially in PPR, is going to be just massive.
Yep.
And the Jaguars are kind of weirdly, their offense is always kind of weird,
Yeah. Deion Lewis or Jeremy Hill?
Deion Lewis.
I'm going Lewis.
I feel like I gotta go Jeremy Hill here. At this point, I don't like a Patriots running back, and I don't like Hill with Bernard, but I think Hill's more talented.
I have to agree there. Deion Lewis, although I think he looks like the better back than Hill, I can't trust a Patriots running back with Belichick as the coach.
See, I don't know. Lewis, he's like a gym rat. Belichick likes him, and they gave him that 2-year contract. That's my only holdup with that.
I think it's close, but...
And Jeremy Hill, I don't know. As long as Gio Bernard's there and Andy Dolan, that whole offense is like a mess week to week. So
I think Hill has better staying power than Lewis because I see another Shane Vereen happening with Dion Lewis. I see him running out his contract, and then they say, let's get another young guy who can do the same thing, and they cycle another one in.
that's a valid concern. But for like the near future, like 3 years, I might go Lewis over Hill. But after that, maybe Hill.
I agree with that. For at least the next couple years, I would go Lewis. Especially just watching Jeremy Hill play, it's like he's played so bad.
I'm not happy taking Jeremy Hill.
I've like barely seen. His longest run. I feel like I've seen him run is like 15 yards. It was barely 15 yards, probably.
Yes.
Lewis is still coming off an ACL tear. I know the medical side's gotten a lot better recently, but I think the failure rate's still like at 20% that he won't recover completely.
Huh.
Like that.
That'd be interesting.
All
and
right.
then I think with LeGarrette Blount too, it's just like LeGarrette Blount's playing so bad. He's terrible. So I think what they should be finding is a backup for Lewis instead of.
James White's been decent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's pretty good.
All right.
Lightsaber.
Yeah, that was me by accident.
It just accidentally went off.
This broke my ears.
All right. Blake Bortles or Teddy Bridgewater?
Bortles.
Raise your Bortles.
Bortles, my man.
Bortles.
I love me some Bortles.
Bridgewater might be a better actual quarterback, but Bortles loves to throw the ball everywhere.
Yeah, in terms of fantasy, I don't think there's a doubt Bortles is the better option there. And the numbers certainly go forward with that.
I like comparison-wise, I like Bortles. I'll start with Teddy. I like Teddy. He's like Alex Smith. That's who he reminds me of a lot. He's very smart. He hands the ball off if he needs to. He's not selfish about wanting to throw or anything, which is apparent because of his low touchdown rates. He has like 8 or 9 touchdowns. And then, Bortles, is in a throw-heavy offense. He's got a great arm. I feel like he's going to improve year to year. He improved so much from last year to this year. If he can keep improving like that, then I think he's going to end up being a really great quarterback. Not even good, like great.
Yeah, I agree, especially with that Teddy point. He is like Alex Smith. Can't trust him fantasy-wise.
Especially when as long as AP's in that offense, it's just going to be AP all day. You know?
All right, let's go 2 more here. So next up, I want to talk about Demaryius Thomas or Alshon Jeffrey.
Good.
Oh, give me Alshon.
Me too.
I'll take Alshon.
How old's Alshon?
25, I
Young.
think.
Yeah, he's young.
He's like 2
I'm
years
going to
young.
take Demaryius.
2 years younger than Demaryius.
Why Demaryius?
The injury history doesn't seem to be as prevalent.
True.
True, but
What do you think about the quarterback situation?
I'm not scared of Osweiler. I think he can feed Demaryius. I think a lot of what we saw, especially in this last game, was cold weather and timing was off.
Yeah.
I just like to look at Demaryius' stats before Peyton Manning, and in his year before Peyton Manning as a second-year wide receiver, he had 32 catches for a little over 500 yards and 4 touchdowns.
yeah, that scares me a little.
Yeah,
Like, how much is that? How much is paid and he's getting targeted though, so that's an uplifting
But if I'm
sign.
going to draft a guy going forward, I'd rather have, at least from a psychological standpoint, I'd rather have a guy who's going to play 15 out of the 16 games in a season than a guy who's going to play 9 and kind of pick and choose based on how his hamstring feels.
I think that's only been a concern for Alshon this year, correct?
And
He
last
was,
year.
he was
Well,
shaken up a little last year, but
He did have an injury the last year, yeah.
I would almost rather have a guy who might be out a game than a guy who's going to be in the game and not really produce. So you can always put someone else in.
I'd honestly just take the person I think who's more talented, and I think that's Alshon Jeffrey.
And I totally agree with that too. I think Alshon's definitely more talented. Because he's shown even when he's injured, if he's in the game, that he will change the pace of the game and how the game's played.
Yeah.
And his hands are humongous. They're so big. It's ridiculous.
He's a man.
Yeah.
All right, let's round it out on Devontae Adams or fill in the blank with a Packers receiver not named Cobb or Nelson.
So he changed it, so.
Give me Jeff
I'm
Jonas.
obviously
Okay,
going to go Devontae
Justin's
Adams.
going
here.
Janice.
I'd still take Adams.
Yeah, Adams.
Yeah, I'd take Adams.
I'm going Montgomery.
Oh, I always forget about him. I like Montgomery too. I changed to Montgomery.
I haven't seen him play at all.
He's a
He
Stanford
played,
man.
2 games and then got injured. He looks like
I think he
Randall
should be
Cobb.
their starting running back. Honestly, probably a better running back than Lacey is at this point.
I cannot agree with that.
He's built. He's like what 5'10", and he's like 210 and really fast. So I mean, I like Montgomery, but Devontae, other than his catch issues, man, he's really good. He gets open, and he can make some good catches sometimes. He's got the speed. He's got the vertical and
My
the broad
problem
jump.
is that he's not a deep threat. Like, even though he has the vertical and the speed, you never see him in that Jordy role.
Well, is that part of the play calling or just the fact that he can't do it?
I would imagine that if they can fill that role, they would. I don't know why they wouldn't.
I think he fills more of a Jordy role than Ty would, because Ty just, I don't know, he can't make the contested catches like
Well,
Devontae.
Janice is the guy filling the Jordy role right now.
Well, Janice can't learn a playbook. I would love Janice so much if he could.
You know, I'm going back to Janice. I think Janice is the most talented of these three guys.
Flip-flop Justin over here.
I'm sticking with Adams. I think he just hit that second-year wall, which a lot of wide receivers tend to hit for some reason. I don't know why, but I think next year it'll be his year.
I don't think
Even
Randall
with
Cobb
Jordy
hit that wall other than he got injured.
I mean, Randall Cobb has a ton of drops this year too. So
Oh, certainly, but we're not comparing him to Devontae Adams.
Maybe it's just Aaron Rodgers.
I think Devontae.
I think it's their offense and their play calling.
Like I was talking about before the show, Devontae Adams has a lower drop rate than Amari Cooper does at this point. So
I think Jeff Jonas has an even lower drop rate.
Are you playing title ball over there?
I don't know. You doing death drums? Is that what you're doing?
Oh yeah, all about Jeff Jonas.
What are you playing, pocket pool?
Jeff Janis is returning kicks in his second year because he can't learn the playbook. So
That's concerning.
I think
is.
in this offseason, Jordy Nelson's going to come to Jeff Janis and be like, listen, you know, like that speech in Rocky Balboa where Rocky's talking to his son? I think I expect Jordy Nelson to give a similar speech because they're both white males and they're wide receivers, and Jordy knows he doesn't. Jordy doesn't know yet. Jordy knows he doesn't have much time left in the NFL, so Jeff Janis is gonna be the reincarnated version of Jordy Nelson.
Oh, God.
Does Jordy not have a lot of time? How old is he?
31, I think.
31.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks so young.
He came up kind of old.
I feel like Jordy has a few good years left still.
I think so. I mean, I think
He
I
didn't
could
get a
see
lot
him
of
play
work.
3 years.
He didn't
He's
get a
just
lot
gotta
of
go
work.
talk to Fitz. Drink from that fountain of youth.
Yeah. Fitz is amazing. Just side note.
No one mentioned Jared Abbrederis, but I will because he's okay.
I hated him at Wisconsin.
Because I have no
He
idea who
always-
that is.
Always killed Ohio State when he was at Wisconsin.
Yep, receiver for the Badgers, and had a big play against the Lions that put him into the red zone. Got hit in the back really hard.
Yeah. Did he get concussed on that play?
No, I think he actually had some rib injury.
He always hurt. He's always hurt.
He might be healthy as of right now. I haven't checked on that recently. But he's somebody to watch maybe tomorrow night if he's active.
Could he fill the Jordy role better than Jeff Janis?
No, I think Jeff Janis is definitely a better deep threat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's the fastest pretty much on the team, isn't he, Janis?
He might be, yeah.
I think he's real fast. He has all the metrics. He just can't run routes real well. Which I guess you don't have to run straight lines down the field.
All right, guys. That's enough of rapid fire. Time to get serious.
Do.
I'd like to turn to a segment that I call Getting Serious with Nick. Imagine, if you will, that you have to pick a player in the NFL who you would most enjoy building a blanket fort with. Who would you choose and why?
Cam Newton.
Repeat the question.
So you've got to build a blanket fort with one NFL player. Who would you choose to have a fun, enjoyable evening, and why?
Definitely Cam Newton, because
He's
I love
6'5". He'd ruin your fort.
he's gonna help me build a. I'm 6'2", so it's not that big of a difference. And he's gonna bring a bunch of yogurt, and yogurt's great.
The yogurt crap. Yeah. It's a bunch of Dan and Oikos. You guys are gonna chill, watch some
Shrek.
This is a great question.
I feel like Lynch would have been my second answer, though.
Ooh.
Lynch is a great choice. Lynch is a great choice.
Your fort? That'll be
so
good.
many Skittles. And he loves video games. You guys can just play video games all night. He loves Call of Duty. Yeah. He loves Call of Duty. I'm going to go John Brown because I want him to teach me that sweet touchdown dance.
Don't dance in your fort, though.
I'm going Allen Robinson just because he seems like a cool guy. Him and Marquise Lee are named Fire and Ice.
The worst, like, why? He's
acquired him today.
Allen Robinson?
Fort building characteristic.
No, I did some research just now. And Allen Robinson won he's like the Jacksonville Jaguars like man of the year because of the way he helps the community. He was an Uber driver for a day. He built some houses, so I figure he's a helping man.
He's an Uber driver for a day.
In his Escalade?
In his Escalade, yeah, that puts him over the top.
So we're gonna see, like, he likes to build people up. So he's gonna build up my blanket fort, and we're gonna just.
All right, I win this one. I'm gonna blow you guys out of the water. Danny Woodhead.
Because he's so small.
5'8". He runs a 4.3 40. That fort's gonna be up in 5 minutes flat. We're gonna be enjoying some ice cream, laughing at you guys. It's gonna be a great night.
You know, that way I'd take Trendon Holiday. Our own Kevin says his answer to this question is Gronkowski. So
that's the correct answer. That's the correct answer. That is the correct answer. I'm taking Gronkowski
because the fort gets half built, and then you guys get drunk and leave and go out and party.
Hell yes. And I'm 6'3", so I'll just build a really tall fort for me and Gronkowski to stand in together. It'll be great.
Me and Allen Robinson will be chilling.
I don't understand that pick. It doesn't make sense.
That is so random.
He's just happy that he acquired him today for a good price, so he's still hype about that.
All right, guys.
Plus, if he drives you anywhere, you're gonna have to pay him because he's an Uber driver.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
You're gonna have to tip Allen Robinson's ass.
It's close to like blanket fort prostitution, isn't it?
Maybe he'll give you free rides if you share your blanket fort.
Oh, geez.
That's right.
All right, that was Getting Serious with Nick. We'll come back to this next week. I'll have another.
Getting Serious with Nick and the boys.
We don't have to add the boys. That's
the boys.
All right, let's finish off on a light note here. We're gonna preview the Packers-Lions game tomorrow. Give our predictions. Talk a little bit about what's going on. Let's leave Devontae Adams out of it as best we can. What do you guys think? What's going to happen?
I'm going bold, and I'm saying this is Amir Abdullah's game this week. The Packers haven't been great. I think this is when it's time for Aaron Rodgers specifically to fear Amir. He's going to come through. I'm going at least 65 rushing yards and a touchdown out of Amir.
Wait. So why does Aaron Rodgers specifically?
Because he's coming for Olivia Munn, because she's going to fear Amir.
Wow.
I feel like you can take that first line, that first sentence that Justin said, and I feel like he said something of the same thing the first 10 weeks of the season. I can almost guarantee it.
Pretty much.
I think Calvin Johnson gets an 80-yard touchdown on the first play, and then the Packers win 45-7.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Packers too, because Detroit, despite Calvin Johnson getting 3 touchdowns last week, I just don't see that repeating. Even though I like what Detroit's doing, I like how their team is rebuilding and like starting not to suck so bad. But I feel like the Packers rebound. Rodgers has a good game, and they win the game.
Where is the game? Is it in Green Bay or is it in Detroit?
It's in Detroit.
All right, so Matt Stafford at home. I predict him and Amir, they're taking down the Packers this week. Put it on the board.
No.
Throw it up.
So Nick, I'm really
prediction is
interested to
that-
see who you're gonna pick in this game.
So Packers are going to win. Probably going to be closely contested. It'll probably be 24-17, something like that.
And both of the touchdowns scored by Detroit will be Amir Abdullah.
No. No, Justin.
I'm predicting Joik Bell just leaves the game. He just retires on
he
the
just
spot.
walks off the field.
Retires?
He goes to work at one of the car plants in Detroit.
That's right. He goes right to the factory. Theo Riddick, his hands like figuratively turn to stone. He just cannot catch anymore. So
I
when
didn't
all
want to
hope
talk
is
about Devontae Adams, but since you brought up Stonehands, I think we have to now.
Well, he's going to do poorly, is my prediction.
I
I
think
think he catches 70% of his passes.
70%. I'll say that 10 targets, 7 catches, 80 or so yards, but I don't think he finds end zone.
I don't think so either.
I'm going to go 8 targets, 3 catches for about 35 yards.
I can sense a James Jones back shoulder.
Oh no!
James.
The only way I'm playing James Jones is if he has that hoodie on. With the hoodie on, James Jones is a man.
I feel like I can predict James Jones' stat line. Okay, it's going to be 3 targets, 1 catch, 60 yards, touchdown.
Now it'd be like 7 yards and a touchdown.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of old Green Bay James Jones.
Yeah. You got it though. I mean, 1 catch, 1 touchdown, efficiency.
Hoodie.
Another
Yes,
player.
legendary hoodie.
I know it's not in this game, but Devontae Parker is going to be getting his first start this weekend. So for all you guys who pick him in the top 5 of your rookie drafts, it's a good weekend. Hopefully you can do something like you did last week. So.
All right, so that brings up an interesting point. Let's wrap it up here. What do you guys have for interesting notes, things you want to bring up before we call it a night?
I expect the Colts and Steelers game to be a very high-scoring game. So whoever you got, fire them up. Because I think Matt
High-scoring
Hasselbeck.
on both sides of the ball or just the Steelers?
Whoa. Both sides of the ball.
Okay.
I think concussed Roethlisberger is gonna keep throwing to Marcus Whedon, thinking he's Martavius Bryant again, because they're like number 10 and 11, and they got like similar builds and like same haircut. So he's gonna keep like dumping it off to him, thinking he's hitting his boy Martavius, but it's Marcus Whedon resurrected. So I think another big game out of him, because the Colts never cover like the outside guy.
So in addition to his concussion, he also forgot to put his contact lenses in this morning.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
Wow.
And then Hasselbeck, I think he's going to keep going to Moncrief because he was finding Moncrief a lot last week, and Moncrief's been like fired up. So fire up your Moncrief, feed the creep.
Fire up your Moncrief. All right, Eric, what do you got?
I'm gonna go. Bold prediction. I'm gonna go with Chris Ivory's gonna have a fairly big game against the Giants. I think he's going to do really well. And not so bold prediction, I think DeMarco Murray continues to suck.
I think that's a good point.
I think Nelson
Against the
Aguilar.
Patriots.
If Nelson Aguilar plays, I see a big game for him. Against the Patriots, second corner, I think they're going to find Nelly, and he's going to get a touchdown. Book it.
And let's see.
Matthew, you got any bold predictions specifically about Nelson Aguilar?
Nelson Aguilar will have 0 points. I've been a Nelson Aguilar hater for a while. My bold prediction is Jeremy Hill, 100 yards, 2 total touchdowns.
Not going to happen. No way.
Who the Bengals
Playing the
play?
Browns.
No
Playing the
way.
Browns.
Again?
It was the Ravens against the Browns last week.
Yeah, okay. That was just, yeah.
I predicted that Gio Bernard takes all his carries again and kills the Browns, and Jeremy Hill is literally non-existent. Probably gets like 35 yards.
I don't think this will happen, but I'd love to see Jeremy Hill with 173 yards rushing and Jeremy Hill with 3 touchdowns on like 35 yards.
I mean, Hill was hurt last week, so
He's basically been hurt this entire season, it seems like.
said
With
he's
a
not
bruised
listed.
ego.
He is not
Yeah.
listed on the injury report right now, so that's good.
And that would
man.
just make me really sad because I've dropped Jeremy Hill in all my leagues at this point.
I think it's a breakout game for Jeremy Hill, and I think Todd Gurley. I love Todd Gurley. I think he stinks it up again because the Rams are going to be down by 3 touchdowns in the first quarter to Arizona,
Completely agree with you.
and they will not be able to run the ball, and it's just going to be an ugly game to watch.
I benched him for Buck Allen this week.
I got another bold prediction in Devin Funchess against New Orleans. I think he'll have a touchdown, definitely.
That's not really bold.
It is not bold, but I just wanted to say that because the rest of my predictions been a little out there. So my unbold.
Every wide receiver on Carolina and like 3 defensive players are going to get touchdowns in that game, I feel like.
That's going to be a segment now. Justin's unbold prediction. of the week.
Oh, and Willie Snead will outscore Brandon Cooks this week. You heard it first.
Please no.
All right, here's my bold prediction. This is a little bit specific, really, to only one of the leagues that I'm in. Justin also happens to be in that league.
Oh.
I think Justin's going to deeply regret dropping Danny Amendola for Vance McDonald.
Well, that was a poor choice.
I got.
Interesting.
Let's just go. I'm just gonna go real quick over my team in this league that I inherited like week 5. My receivers are AJ Green, Michael Crabtree, Alshon Jeffrey, and Sammy Watkins, and we can only play up to 3 wide receivers. So I needed that tight end.
Right, but if you hold that receiver, you have a great playoff push where no one can grab Amendola.
I don't trust Amendola. I only took him for that 1
Erica,
week.
if you are listening to this podcast, put in a claim for Danny Amendola. I love it.
How do you guys feel about Brandon LaFell in that offense right now?
I think he has worse hands than Devontae Adams.
I agree.
Like, what happened? Why he was so good last year, and there was 2 other receivers that were better than him in front of him the entire time, and now he's terrible.
Maybe that's part of
He's
it.
the top
Maybe
receiver.
being the guy now is just not working for him.
I guess, yeah, and it's going to be even worse since Gronk is out this week. I mean, they're going to have to force him more balls than ever.
And Chris Harper's gone. I mean, we all know
Oh
how valuable.
I'm still rostering him because I believe in my boy Chris Harper.
I will trade you Fred Jackson for Chris Harper.
Why?
No
Jackson's
way.
Still on your roster?
I don't want FredEx. I got Rawls. Chris Harper has the haircut of Odell Beckham Jr., the speed of
Other intangible.
the speed of Martavius Bryant, and the same name as a horrible person. So
Martavis, not Martavius.
I don't care. Chris Harper's better. I'm holding on him, and the lightsaber went off.
All right, I think we've overstayed our welcome. I think it's time to end this thing.
All right.
So, again, for those of you who want to maybe hear a little bit more about what we do, read some of the articles that we publish, you can get a hold of us over at theUnneutralZone.wordpress.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at UnneutralZone. Again, everything we publish would be posted on Twitter, so you can always keep up to date with what we're doing. We hope to get a little bit more involved with that in the future. Hopefully, lightsabers won't always be involved.
I'm sorry.
Justin's, I don't know what Justin's doing, but
just
Darth Maul is in his bedroom right now.
Yeah, it's way too late right now for me. I wake up at 5 a.m. Eastern time every day.
Gotta hit those bagels hard.
in the books. I got to read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, so.
That's not a bad
Wow,
book.
I remember when I had to read books for class. Man.
They make you read 1984 yet?
No, we didn't. We actually didn't.
Dang. That's actually like the best book I read in high school.
What about Brave New World?
Didn't read that either.
Also
they,
good.
they haven't assigned that.
So are we gonna keep that part until they give our book recommendations at the end of our podcast?
Yeah, so we'll implement that next time, but think about that for the future. So anyway, with that, signing off, I'm Nick.
I'm Eric.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Justin, and take it in, lady! Peace.